till like
Yeah, many projects are done. This
uh,
ping pong game was there, but I didn't get like how to do it.
okay for the ping pong game. Like
Yeah,
okay, so we can discuss that too. Like so mostly
yeah,
we need the screen coordinates and okay, we'll check it. Okay.
yeah. Okay, sure.
Uh, all right. So hi guys. Last class we like obviously picked up JavaScript and we are done with at least the functions. Okay. So how the function work and some things which is different from other functions like Java. So we say that we can have nested functions. We can pass the functions as parameter and to other function and other function can call them. Just a quick go through of what we did and then I guess we are good to go. Okay, so we'll be starting with arrays and objects today, and we'll study the behavior, how they behave in JavaScript, and that will be covered. All right, so just give me a second. Let me open the code and share my screen and then we can start. All right, adding to what we did last day is the first thing was key. We do not have to define any data type. First of all, we do not need to say that it is an integer or a float or something. Everything is detected at runtime, right? So when the function is when the code is running, so it gets that okay. So this is a number, this is a string, and this is a boolean. So something like this happens. Okay, so it do not need to specify. So let const var are three things which we'll be using to have a variable. Although they have some their own differences and like obviously if we have three different things so they would be meaning that okay uh, why they are used basically, so what's the purpose. Next was type conversion, which was a bit important. We studied last day. We discussed that key if we do mathematical or arithmetic operation on strings, okay, apart from plus, which is basically string concatenation, everything will work as expected, like as mathematical operation. For example, three string and two string will be giving us one, which is a mathematical answer, right? So that is one thing. The other thing to add was functions are like this. Neither we have to define the return type, and similarly, the concept is same. Why don't we have to define the data type? Because everything is determined at runtime. So when the function will be returning things, so then it is determined. Okay, so this guy is going to return a number. Okay, so that is the idea. Good thing was this something like this exists. Okay, so if it true and we have a if else block, so there is no difference between this, okay, and the other languages. All right, adding to it, um, we had functions. For example, we have a function 4, and I'm saying that this function accepts another function and which is callable. So obviously functions are callable, so this is what I mean as passing a function as a parameter. All right, so we can see that this is a function 4, which is this one, and function 3 can be passed over it. Okay, indirectly we are calling the function only because there's not much of it. One last thing we discuss is we can have nested function. Okay, so this is something very different which we have not already seen in other languages. We have kind of nested function seen over here. There's one function and there is other function. The idea was how do we use the function, since whatever we write inside a function counted as a local variable, the function will be counted as a local function. It means that there is no visibility of inner function outside the outer function, right? So how do we access the inner function? Two things are there. Either we return this inner function, and since we are returning, so when our function returns, when we call that function. Okay, so if we see we have two calls over here, so this outer function is being called, and on the call we are getting returned as inner, and then call is on inner function, so that's why there are two functions. Is there any other way to do this? What do you guys think? Is there any other way? All right, can I say something like this? Let nested function, and I can call make a call to the outer function, and this nested function can be called. What do you guys think? Is this another way? uh, Guys, any doubts in this part? So line number 105 is saying that make a call to outer function, and when this outer function is call is made, inner function is returned as the nested function value. Okay? And finally we are calling it. So this is the one way to call the nested function, otherwise we go with this way. Okay? So these are the this is the thing. Okay, I will just copy the path and let's go over here. So mostly the for the functions basic, this is what we have. Okay, nothing much. So we can see that inner function is printed twice, and because of this first call and this is the second call, by the way. Next thing we are going to start is something which we have already dealt with in Java. We call it okay. Before I move to that, there's one thing we need to discuss. Did we discuss scopes last in the last class? Scopes in JavaScript. Okay, all right. I guess we can have a discussion on it. Now, having a careful look, if we go to C++, we can see that we need a function, and inside that function, the code is written. So, int main and the things are provided there, and then we can write our piece of code inside a function. In case of C++, when we move to Java, it is complete object-oriented programming language, and we say that no code or no code block can exist without a class. So there must be a class, and there must be a main function which should be called at the first time in order for the Java code to run. But when we move to or switch to JavaScript, the things get changed. We are able to write variables. We are able to write functions. Even I can run a for loop over here. Okay, everything outside a class or outside a function, I can do that. What is this scope, guys? Can someone tell what is the scope here? This variable is neither in class nor in function. So what is the scope? Function scope? No, because it's not in the function. So what is the scope? We call this we call this as global scope. Okay, so the code which is outside any function block is called as the global scope. Now we can see one thing over here. Why I'm telling that this is a global scope? When I open my file in the browser, there are some things happening. Okay, okay, my function is running. That is one thing, but there are some other things happening. For example, since this is global scope, it should be globally visible. Globally visible means it should be visible to my browser inside its console also. So I can access number or a string or any other variable normally. So can I access number variable? Let's check it out. Yes, I can access it. Can I access the variable with name string? Can I do that? So yes, I can do that. Although I can access these function also. Okay, so I can access all the function which I have already written. Now this is accessible because these are in global scope. What is a scope? A scope means surrounding or environment where the code is present. Okay, so these are globally visible to us. Whereas this boolean 23 we are having. Okay, so do we have any same? Okay, so we have a same name variable. I'm finding. Okay, for example, this this outer function is having a what is the scope of outer function, guys? Outer function is visible in global scope, right? Is inner function global scope or not?
No.
What is the scope of inner function? Function scope, right?
Yeah, function scope.
Yeah, function scope or local scope, anything can be said to it. So that is why outer can be accessed over here, whereas we cannot access inner over here. Okay, we cannot do this. It won't find reference inner is not defined. So this is so two scopes are clear to us. One is the global scope, the code where I have written without any function, without any class. Okay, and the second is the local scope or the function scope. These two scopes are in other languages also. Okay, there is an introductory scope we have. We call that as a block scope, and block scope looks something like this. Anything present in a curly braces is considered as a block scope. Let's say So let var is equals, okay, not var is also a reserved keyword. So let variable 34 something something, and we are storing this 45 over, and I can do this. So this is something a weird syntax, okay, where this curly braces come from. Okay, so it's neither a function nor a class, although I can write a bracket over here. So that is something which we just have in JavaScript. Whenever I define this curly braces, will this code, okay, so will this give error or will this run? That is separate point, but this is possible, right? All right, let's see how the execution goes. And is this variable accessible outside? Is this okay? So if this variable is accessible outside, this is no new scope. It should be considered as a global scope. I cannot say it a local scope or a function scope because this is not a function. So neither it is a function. And let's check it out if this variable 34 is available outside or not. What do you guys think? Is it accessible outside? What do you guys think? Can I access this variable 34? Okay, let's have a look. So I will clear this part, and so this variable 34 is not accessible outside. It means that neither a function scope nor a global scope, it is something called as a block scope. So this is the three scopes we have in JavaScript. Okay? So these are the three scopes. Why this is important? I will show you something. One more variable I want to create, and let's say it is 32. Okay. 46. Like, and I want to print this variable 32 also over here, and I want to print this variable. I want to print this variable 32 over here. Okay. All right. What do you guys think? 32 is available outside or not? Okay. 34 was not available. Is 32 available? Let's. Yes, 32 is available outside. So there is something different with where. Okay, there is something different with where, and there is something different with let and const. So the purpose, okay, the first point, why do we have three syntax? Why do we have let, where do we have where, why do we have const? Const makes sense, okay? Const is telling that it is constant and you cannot reinitialize or reassign it. So that is totally perfect. What about let and where? There must be something not like matching with where. So JavaScript people introduced this let keyword, okay? So this is the first thing we need to notice, that where does not follow block scope. Block scope is a new introduction. This curly braces you see, it is a block scope. Not only this curly braces, can someone give an example of a block scope apart from this? Any other examples? Okay, I will just scroll here. It is here itself in the code.
Console.log is
Okay, do you guys see this? Can I say this is a block? Yes, right, this is a block.
Yeah, and after every function, there is like you're giving you a console.log some expression, right? Even
Okay,
that comes in it.
okay, okay, yes, yes. So you see this curly braces, which is neither a function nor in global scope, so it is considered as a block scope. Okay, remember the for loop. You write int I is equals to 0, and you cannot access I outside the for loop. Okay, so that is also an example of block scope, right? All right. So these are some of the scopes we have. Okay. Now the next thing we need to check is so global function lexical. Okay, so this lexical and block scope are the same thing. Okay, lexical scope, block scope are the same thing. Function scope, local scope is the same thing, and there is a global scope. Okay, so these are the three scopes we have in JavaScript. Coming to the next point, what is a execution context? What is execution context?
Execution context is something where I mean, like it's a runtime environment for JavaScript, I believe.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
Uh,
obviously. Yeah.
uh, and that is where everything runs. I mean, like what is in the code, the machine studies I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
The part where we write code, it executes and it studies what is written step line by line,
Okay. Okay.
and it reads the code twice, and then it executes. It will create a usually a box, like a execution context, in which every function has a specific box, every variable has a specific box. It allots specifically like that, and when everything is done, it executes the program, and everything will be deleted at the last.
All right. Very correct. Okay. The definition that whenever a function is in running or pending state, running state means the function is actually running. Pending state means suppose there is a recursion, so all other below recursive calls are waiting for upper calls to return something. Okay. So in recursion we have stacks of calls, okay, which is waiting for the previous function to return. So when the function is in a running state or pending state, that is in the execution stack. Okay, so that is this word execution context is coming from the stack where the function is piled up when it is either running or pending, not stopped. If it is stopped, it is not in the stack. Okay, so once the function has returned its value, it is popped out of the stack. The point is the variables are only accessible until and unless the function is in stack, execution stack. So every function running have three things. First is its own variable and environment. Second thing is a reference to outer execution context. A reference to outer execution context is not something which is very typical. We just want to mention that where is the variable. So we have boolean 23 over here, right? So if I try to print boolean 23, it will print 67, but if I don't have the 67 boolean 23, it can access the boolean 23 from line number 33 also, right? If it has the local variable, it will print it 67. If it does not have, it will print 56. Are you guys getting the point?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what reference to outer execution context means, that it has the reference to the like the outer scope where it is defined. And yeah, so this is the point. So these are the two things. First thing, variable and environment. Second thing is reference. Third thing is this. What is this? Any
A keyword which points to the specific mentioned, uh,
object, right?
yeah, object.
Okay, I know why you guys are confused. We didn't study about object and where this is coming from. We'll see where is this coming from. And yes, this is present in the function itself. Okay, we'll discuss that part later, but yeah, these are the three things we have. Okay, moving on, there's second thing which we called as function expression. What is a function expression?
Assigning a function to a variable.
Yes, yes. So that is something we have over here. So assigning a function to a variable. Okay. So I guess this part was covered last time. Type of the functions we were discussing. So this thing was covered. So assigning a function to variable, and this variable can be normally. So there's nothing extra. We can use this variable as it is. Okay. Can I use this function exp to name to call the function or not?
No.
Why? Because this is a local name, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when can so why do we have this name? When can it be used for
It is a
making?
it is a function, right? That
Mhm.
so it would be used to execute that function.
Okay. Okay. So there is a rule. Function expression. Whenever we create a function expression, we cannot use this name. We have to use variable name and then call it. Okay. So why do we have this name? So that we can perform any recursive calls. Okay, so this name is only accessible inside the function body, not outside the function body. Make sense, guys?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so this is what it is. This is called as, okay. So some function expression have name and some have no name. Okay, so some have no name. So what they are called? Uh, Anonymous function expression and named function expression, right? Okay, so we call
Yeah,
them
okay.
anonymous and all right. Okay, so this probably sums up about the functions. Okay, And this thing we have already covered, function as a parameter and nested function. Types of error in JavaScript, guys, please have a look at it. This is very, very important. Okay, so this is already here. Just check it out. So what are the what error means, okay, and what you have to debug in your code, that is very, very important. So please check it out. All right. The next thing is prompt, alert, and confirm. Okay, I can show that here itself. How many of you know about what is prompt? Okay, see this window dot prompt, and I will say uh, enter uh, passcode or something. Have you guys seen something like this? Websites ask for password or
Yes.
something. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, we will just type in something over here, and so OK means supply the value, and cancel means supply undefined. Okay, so that is one. Similarly, where this window is coming from, we'll discuss it. But yeah, just for the sake of completion, let's do this. So there is something called as alert. Are you sure to log out or something? Are you sure changes are unsaved or something? Something is there. Okay, so these are the things. So this is alert. So difference between so what is the difference between prompt and alert?
Form takes an input.
Yes. Okay.
Alert just
So is the message, right?
yeah.
All right. The last one is confirm, and uh, are you sure to submit the form? So sometimes you submit like any job application or like something. So it asks for, are you sure to submit it? Have you rectified it? So these two buttons say Boolean. So this is false, this is true. So you hit it, it says false, and yeah. So maybe the page won't close or the submit does not happen. Okay. We'll check it out how to use these values. Okay. So that will come later. So prompt, alert, and confirm. So these are three things. All right. TypeScript versus JavaScript. Okay, we'll discuss it later. Okay. How many of you know about TypeScript? Okay, we'll discuss that part later. Not an issue. Arrays in JavaScript. So reading about arrays in like all the languages, C++, Java, and like coming here for the same thing. Although the idea here changes a bit for arrays. All right. So let's get started with arrays and arrays dash objects dot html. So let's see about arrays. The script. How can I initialize the array? Should I say new array, right? Okay. What is the other way?
The square brackets.
Yes, the square brackets. Okay. So these two denote the same thing. Okay. So internally. So there's something array constructor which is already present in JavaScript. We'll study about constructors. And again, the same question arises. Do we have classes in JavaScript? If you have constructor, it means we should have class. But let's see what happens. All right, let me copy path and let's get to the browser. So let's diagnose this. So we have array over here. Okay, so I'll just print this. We have something called as array 2. Okay, so printing this. Let's open it for a while. It says a length property, so we can see that we already have something called as length associated with this. Okay, and we have length associated with this. There's something called as prototype. We will discuss it later. What is prototype, how it functions, why do they exist? So these are some questions. We'll cover it later. All right, next. How do we add it to the array?
Dot push.
All right, so dot push. Okay, so dot push. Any other way to add to the array?
Using the index.
Yes, so using the index. So let's put. Can I do this? Can I do this?
Yes, we can do.
Right. So, and can I use a string? I pushed a number. Can I push a string?
Yeah.
Yes, I can push a string. All right. So what is the okay? So this so 0 to 40. What is stored in the array between 0 and 40? Yes, we have something undefined over here. Remember, we discussed undefined and null. So when we don't give something, so it is considered as undefined. But if we don't have a value and we want to put something, we can use a null. So all these between whatever we have will be undefined. All right. So if I just print the array, so we have something like this. So it says 23, then 40. There's nothing in between. Okay, but there's something interesting. We see that there is no other index inside this. Like, it's something programmed like this that it does not store 39 undefined inside it. That is so unoptimized. So JavaScript does not store undefined, but it knows that if there's something comes like this, it has to throw undefined. This is so optimized. One thing is for sure, we can have different data. Okay, so there is no there is no binding. Okay, there is no binding, there is no data type binding that is happening at runtime, right? Okay, so when array does not say that I can only store a string or I can only store number, there is a runtime binding happening in the array. So you can have anything, boolean, string, you can have an array also, so it doesn't like affect the thing. All right. So array dot push, what is the other one, how to delete it? What is the other? Yeah, pop, right? All right. So array dot push and array dot pop. Okay. So you can see that this is what we have. Okay. So these are two methods. Okay. So there is one method to push at the beginning. What is that method? Okay. First question. Can we push at the beginning of array?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. What is the method? Unshift, right? Okay. So we have something called as unshift. Okay. Now there is a method which will delete from the beginning. You can see that it is unshift is added, 56 is added to the start of the array. Okay. There's one method to delete from beginning. What is that method? Shift, right? Okay. So push, pop, shift, unshift. Okay. So these are the four methods to start at the okay, sorry, push at the end, pop from the end, and push at the start, pop from the start. So these are the things. There's one more thing. Okay. So what is the array dot length? First of all, what is array dot length? So we have 40 over here. Okay, because this was 41 and we deleted something and it is now 40. So these are some methods which we have on array. Okay, are these method clear, guys? Any issues in this?
No.
All right. There are some utility methods which we want to see. Okay, one more thing we need to consider. Okay, so here it is written, can assign value to any index even if we have no elements in between. Okay, so even if we have okay, so even if we have no elements in between. Okay, next is array dot length. Okay, so we just show array dot length. Do we have that? Okay, we'll discuss it later. Coming to the next function, which is more kind of utility function. Okay, see, there are some things in good for JavaScript is like there are lots of methods already implemented for a string replacement, for array. We want a chunk of array. We want substring of array. So all these codes have to be written in C++ and Java. But when you switch to this JavaScript, there are lots of things already present over here. Not have to write the complete code. This was sample for you guys. Okay, let me define this array again. Okay, I will say 3, 5, 6. Yeah, we can do this also. Okay, we can have multiple values over here and 0 finally. Okay, so this is perfectly fine. Either you go with push pop approach or the index approach, or this is the third one. This is the third way to have your array structured. All right. Coming back to the point, utility method 1, there's something called as splice. What we do with the splice function, any idea? Okay, see this guys, I have the start index. Okay, so there is an operation which says supply me the start index. Splice says delete count. Okay, so let's say I want to delete two elements starting from index 2, and there is a third argument, third parameter, which says write the items which you want to insert. First parameter, the start index. Second parameter, total numbers to delete starting from 2, and after that all parameters we have. So, okay, so you see this three dots over here. This is an operator. Okay, we call it a rest operator. We'll discuss it later. Okay, a rest operator and something like this. There is a spread operator. So we'll study about these two operators. Okay, not an issue. 2245. Okay, so start index, delete count, and 45 has to be inserted. Let's see. Okay, and what is the okay? So do you guys see the changes, guys? Starting from index 2 0 1 2. Okay, two elements, delete two elements. So 6 and 7 will be deleted. So 6 and 7 is deleted, and insert 4 and 5 in the array. Is the work of splice function clear?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the return type of splice function? You see this 6 and 7 inside the array. So what it is returning? Array of deleted elements, right, guys? So 6 and 7 were deleted, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So the return type of splice is the deleted elements, and this is what we have. Now there is one thing which we call as optional parameters in JavaScript. How many of you know about optional parameters? Okay, see this guys. There is a function, okay? There is a function, let's say function 3, and I have two arguments over here, a comma b. Finally, I want to console. Okay, I can return, but yeah, let's keep it simple. So console.log, and I want to um, print a comma b. Okay, and I say that I want to have an optional parameter. Optional parameters is something like, let's say b is equals to 7. Okay, so b is equals to 7. Yes, this is possible. B is equals to 7. Now, 2 comma 4. What will be printed if I supply 2 comma 4? Guys, a and b. So I'm supplying 2 comma 4 to the parameter. What should be printed? For a, it should be clear, right? That 2 will be printed. What will be printed in case of b?
7.
Okay, see this. Okay, let's have a quick refresh, and I can say that 2 and 4 is printed. Okay, let's do this again. So function 3, okay, function 3 0 comma 9. So okay, 0 comma 8. So 0 comma 8 is printed. Whereas if I say 8, it is printing 8 comma 7. Are you guys getting the idea of option argument? Sorry, parameter.
Yeah, when the arguments are not passed, then it will print the default one.
Yes. Is this logic clear, guys? Everyone? Okay. All right. Okay. So why I just like tell this? See this. So there's a splice function. Let me clear the console array. Let me print the array. Okay. So array is empty. Why is the array empty? Okay, yeah, we did a quick refresh, right? So that is why array was jumping. Okay, so this is my array. Okay, I will run the splice function again, but splice function has optional parameters. Optional parameters. You see this question mark over here? So this question mark denote the optional parameter. Means if you want to keep it. Otherwise, you can leave it. Okay. So I will supply two things. Two things. I will supply 3 comma 2. Okay, 3 comma 2. Starting from this index, starting from 3 index, delete two elements. Okay, delete two elements. I can skip the third one. That is optional argument. Now, if I check my array, you can see that it is sorted. Sorted means it is two elements are deleted from index 3. So 7 and 8 are no more inside the array. Passing all three parameters we just saw. Passing two parameters we just saw. Also adding to this, except the first parameter, the two of them are optional. So delete count is also optional because we have a question mark over here. So if I say 2, okay, now before I print, I'm only supplying the start index. What should be the condition of array now?
It will be the same.
Okay. Okay, JavaScript is surprising. Okay. So what it did, it deleted all elements starting from index 2.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the three variants of a splice. Three variants of a splice: passing with single parameter, passing with two parameters, and passing with three parameters. So this is the splice function. All right, guys. So this is what splice function is. Okay. Coming back to the next one, there's one more utility function, very important. These things are very important, guys. That's why I'm focusing much on it. Okay. So let's have the next function in the row, which is array dot slice. See, p is not okay. So p is not semicolon. It is slice. Okay, not slice. It is slice. Slice has only two parameters. Okay, starting and ending. Let's see. So when I say 2 comma 4, okay, 2 comma 4. Okay. So 2 comma 4 is returning 6 comma 7. What should be the array? What should the array is? Okay. Let's see. So the array is as it is, no changes. So what does slice method do?
And it created a new array.
Yes, it has created a new array and returned the start and end index. Okay, all right. Okay, there's one more thing we need to check. Slice method does not modify the original array, and a splice method modify the.
What is an array?
Yes. So this is a very big difference. We should be keeping in our mind both function. Okay. So if you just have a careful look now, slice and splice both can be used in some cases. If you want that part of chunk of array, we can use a splice also. We can use a slice also. But depending upon use case, either we want to modify the array or we don't want to modify the array. So based on the demand, we either use slice or we use splice. So this is what it is. All right, let's talk about the optional parameters. So do we have optional parameters in this also? Yeah, we do have it. So we have array dot slice. So slice over here, all right, and I will pass two. Two is the start index, end index I will skip. Okay. So what if I skip the end index? It will slice the array from
Two to the last.
yes, two to the last. Okay, starting from the last to the end. Okay, so this is the slice. And if I and here all two parameters are optional. So what if I do array dot slice? It is throwing me
It will
all.
create a duplicate
y-
of original array.
Yes, it is creating a duplicate of all array. So if the interviewer asks, please create a duplicate array without using for loop, which method you can use?
Slice.
Yes, just us, just 3 4 words are there. That's it. No for loop needed, no iteration, nothing is needed over here. So that is again, this feels awesome, right? And yeah, like there is no modification in case of size function. So that a return type. Okay, guys, two things to be very careful in JavaScript. Is the method going to modify the original data? Okay, the first thing you need to know. Second thing, what is the return type? A return type should be very clear what the method returns. Is the method returning an array? Is the method returning an object? These things should be very very clear. Okay, so okay, so these are the two things. um, there's one more thing which is related to these two functions. Okay, let's discuss, no issues. Okay, array dot slice. There's something called as a negative indexing, and that's, I know it sounds weird, but yeah, we have something. So how many elements are there? 7 elements, no? See this, -7 comma -5. -7 -7 comma -5. Are you guys getting the point? What it is doing? -7 means -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. -7, -6, -5. Is it?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, okay. So this is present in slice and splice. Okay. This is very minor thing. Okay. I'm sure like not all the like. Okay. So I'm not getting. I'm sure that you can ask to any other developer out there. Okay. Maybe someone knows, but yeah, like if they haven't used, they don't know. Like this is there is a negative index possible, both for slice and splice. Okay. Never do this. Okay. Although this is not possible. Okay, so never do something like this. Never do -2. Okay, this is not like this is not a scene. Okay, so these negative indexing is only possible in slice function and splice function. All right. One more thing, guys. If you just want to have access to the recording, so I like this starting from like JavaScript and all the other lectures. I have already added the things over here. Okay, so every lecture is present with the date and the topic. Okay, so it's not that you can access your only your batch lecture. You can just access any other batches lecture also. Okay, so if you want to study about client server architecture or event loop, so everything is mentioned over it. Okay, this does not mean
Take the link of that.
yeah. Okay, so but please come to class. Do not like just watch the recordings. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Okay. All right, just a second. Things to add in this one. Okay, so I have written read other on mdn docs. Please go to mdn doc mozilla documentation and please have a look at it. So they have written, so they those people are like they seriously note down everything. So please have a look over there. Next point is iteration over the array. Okay, so this is something which is, so some of the methods we already know and some we need to know. So starting with iteration over array, so let's see. So I can say for the traditional for loop, so for let I is equals to 0, I is less than array dot length, I plus, where is plus, I, okay, sorry guys, it's I plus plus, and I can simply say console dot log. And so this thing is feasible. So we already know, just for sake of IndexedDB, we do not need to have a look at it now. So here's I and I can. So these are the for loop. So this is the for loop we have, which we already know. All right. We're going to see something. Okay. So there is a method on the arrays. We call it for each. Okay. For each. Let me clear this. So we have a method, we call it for each, which is available on the array itself. Okay, but the for each says callback function. What is a callback function? Let's come back to the code. We just discussed that a function can be passed inside of another function as a parameter. For example, if you see this anonymous function, we have passed cb over here, and at line number 86, function 4 is accepting a function, and this function is callable. Why I have written cb? Cb is a short form of callback. Okay, so it is a time we learn about callbacks. So cb means callback, and callback means we are not directly calling the function. JavaScript is internally calling it. So these kind of functions are called as callback. If you have just a closed loop, you're just calling the function 4. You're not calling function 3. Is it making sense, guys?
Can you go again?
Okay.
Yeah, not getting it.
Okay. See this, guys. So this is a for loop. Okay. I will write something over here. So I'm writing a syntax. Okay. We'll discuss about. So this is a function itself. Okay. Anyone knows what this function is?
Arrow function.
Yes, it is an arrow function. So, okay, we'll discuss about the function, but the point is, I'm passing a function over here inside for each. Okay, discuss like what is arrow function later. But the point is, see this. I will be printing this data. So data. Okay. What do I mean by I'm not calling the function? Is this the function I have supplied over here? Calling a function require two small bracket. When do we say that we are calling a function? When you use this small brackets, right? Are you guys getting my point?
That
Yeah.
is give a argument or something, right? Parameter or
Yep, yep. So here we are providing the argument, and this is called by. Okay, so we have set things up something like this, right? So that it gets
okay.
called. Okay. Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
okay. The same thing is set up in here also. I have made a function. Okay, I can write normal function if you are confused, but okay, we'll discuss about arrow function later. My point is, I am just calling this for each, and this for each will call this function every time on each element. So when we have a function, we do not directly call. For example, I'm not directly calling this arrow function, JavaScript is calling it. So we call these type of function as callback functions. Are
Okay.
you?
So usually what it does is it for every element in array it prints, right. Like we have given console.log data, so it prints every element for each. That's what it's doing, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
And one more thing to note here, guys. This is a data parameter. Did I pass data parameter? It is okay. So every iteration, JavaScript is filling this data with the element, right? Are you guys getting my point? By
yeah.
okay. So what do you mean by internally calling the function? So JavaScript is internally calling this function by passing the element. Okay. Not only this, for each is also capable of two more passes. So this is data. I can pass the index also, and I can pass the complete array also. Okay. So I can print the index if you want. I can print the array also, but yeah, okay. Let's leave it. So I can see that the data is also passed, printed, and index is also printed. So I'm not calling the inner function because it's inner function. How okay? But for each is calling the function again and again on every element. So this passed function is called as a callback function, right?
Callback. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And if you guys have like someone have reached DOM, so you know that we have a event listener over there. Okay, and we supply a function over
Down.
there also,
Did you
right?
say down?
Yeah, we haven't reached. Just saying if we have already seen that. Okay, so okay, we'll come back to callback again and again because that is very very important. And this was just a like use of callback function. Okay, so for loop, normal for traditional for loop, and this is a for each loop. Is the for each loop clear, guys? Everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. And since what is the return type of for each?
It returns like whatever we ask. I mean, like the data or the index, or for every element, it's returning.
Okay, okay. Let's add to this once we discuss the another way to iterate over the array. Okay, so this is first one. Next, okay, for we have done for in. Okay, let's see this for in one. For in loop. So for, okay, for in loop. So let num in array. Okay, let num in array and console dot log. Okay, so there's one more variation of our loop. We have something like this, and let's print the number. Okay. Oh, sorry, it just printed the index. So there is one more of it. We have let num in array, and is this clear, guys? Like it's simple, right? Uh, just passing the index, and that is being supplied over here. Is it clear, guys?
Yes.
For in loop.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Let number in array. We are printing that particular number, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this num is pointing to the index, and this index is being used to print it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is for in loop. So for loop, traditional for loop, for each loop, for in loop, these three are done. This takes us to one more. Okay. So the last iterator. Okay. We'll see why do we have so much things over here. Now again it says callback function. Okay. Again the same thing. The logic will be same just like we did for each one. Okay. There's a difference. We'll discuss that difference also. So function, okay. I will write normal function over here. Okay. So there's a normal function, and I will say okay. I will say data. Okay. Data index and array here also applicable, but let's stick with data, and I will say return data cross data. What this map function is doing?
It's multiplying the data by itself. I mean, like data into data. Three. There was three. 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 Nine. Five. Five. 25. Six. Six. 36.
Yes. So this map function is printing the squares of element, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the same thing. The iteration with for each and iteration with map is this is how we have. Now the okay. The question would be, why do we have two over here? We had the for each now. They're doing the same thing. Why do we have this map function? How many of you are getting difference? Okay, let me do the same thing, but this time with for each. Okay, for each. The same syntax with for each, but there is something wrong with this. Not wrong, there's something different with for each. What is the return type of map function?
It is returning the data. I mean, like the respective value which is we are requesting.
Okay, and what is the return type of for each?
Yeah. 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 Got it.
Array.
Okay, so return type of for each is undefined, and return type
And
of map function is array.
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 Do you guys get the difference between these two functions?
Yeah.
Doing the same thing, but map function will return you a resultant array every time, but for each is undefined. Okay, so this is a very what you can say favorite question for the interviewers. If they are doing the same thing, why do we have separate ones? Whereas when I do the console now, it will be fine. Okay, so console. So this is okay. Consoling is not returning. Remember, consoling. This is consoled, but the return is what is the return?
Undefined. Undefined. Undefined.
Yes. So return type of for each is undefined. Okay. So please just focus on what the return type is. Focus on what the return type is, and if it is modifying the original data or not, as I just mentioned. So these are the iterators we have on array. Okay. Okay, so I hope you guys are like, uh, are all the iterators clear to you guys? Okay, all right. We'll need them. Okay, so when we move to backend or let's say React, so React map function is like widely used in React JS. Okay, so that is something which we need to know. Okay, and how do we use this return thing? Okay, so that is also good thing to like. So for each and map difference, I have explicitly mentioned. So okay, so why do we explicitly mention? Because this is favorite questions for interviewers. Okay, so that's why these are explicitly mentioned. Okay, there's for off loop. Okay, so there's a for off loop. You can check it last one. Okay, so I know this is the fifth iterator, but yeah, last array. Okay, so for and the name of collections, name of array, and console dot log basically, and over here the num. Sorry, it's what is name? Why did I use name? Okay, so we can see that there's a for off loop. Okay, for off loop. There's a for in loop, which was giving us the indexes, whereas for off loop directly returns the directly makes the iterator access to the elements. So these are all the iterators we have. Okay.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat this for off again?
Yeah. So if you remember, for in loop is something like this. This is in, and we had to do something like this. Okay. So this is for in loop. Okay, for in. So we have it returns the index, not the element. Whereas for off loop directly returns the element.
Okay.
Okay. So these
Okay.
are the iterators, all the iterators. All right. So this is what we had in array, guys. Okay. Just couple of things more to add over here, and we are good to go with the array. So let's wrap this thing up, and we'll be done. Now, this thing is pretty possible that okay. So when we move to okay, we'll discuss that when we discuss objects. Okay. So let's have the introduction to object. Okay. So this brings us to something called as object. Now, objects. Okay, what is object?
It's like a prototype. I mean, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
with
So,
specific properties,
mm-hmm.
uh, set of values.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Obviously, like correct. So as per of object-oriented programming language perspective, it is having some set of values and set of methods which is unique. So object is a instance of class. Okay, and class is a template,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Okay. This brings to something that I can have objects. How can we create an object in JavaScript?
Brackets, flower bracket,
All right. Any other way to do this?
new keyword.
And they're correct. New object, right?
Yeah.
So this is a object constructor. We had array constructor and we have object constructor. So this is object. Both will be doing the same thing. Okay, but yeah, we should know that these two exist. Okay, and this is a literal way. We call it literal way to create something. Okay, and this is called the constructor way to create something. Okay, let's access this. This opens a door for object-oriented programming language. Okay. It means that there's something Java has capability for object-oriented programming language. Although the certain conditions like, okay, sir, if you say that object-oriented programming language, it should have encapsulation, it should have inheritance, and what are the other two?
Polymorphism and encapsulation, inheritance, and
Abstraction.
abstraction.
Yes, data abstraction. Okay, So we'll say, sir, these properties should be also there. Okay, yeah, very correct. We'll discuss this. That yes, we do have things over here. Coming back to object, what are objects in JavaScript? Why they are used?
Function.
Okay, objects are key value pairs, right? Okay, key value means, let's say we can do this. Object dot a equals to 45. Dot operator is there, and we can access properties using the dot operator. Okay, so and we can say obj dot b is equals to a string. So this is a string. Okay, and we have obj dot, let's say cp is equals to something. Let's say uh, true. So anything can be stored. Values can be anything. Values can be anything over here. Okay, it doesn't matter like what you are going to store. Instead you can store a complete object inside an object. So let's just like nested functions, nested object is also applicable. Okay, let me print the object. So we can see that a is mapped to 45, b is mapped to a string which is a string, and c is mapped to a boolean which is a boolean. So these are the three things we have in objects case. Adding to this, if I just open it. Okay, so these are the three things. And again, this is a prototype. So in array also we saw this prototype, and here also we have saw the prototype. We'll see. We'll see what they mean. So this is key value pairs, and keys are. Uh, can we have duplicate keys or no?
Yeah, sure. You can.
Are you sure we can have duplicate keys? Okay,
Use in yeah,
it is just like hash map.
we can change. Yeah.
Yes, we can change it. Okay, we can change it, but the keys are uniquely identifies in here, although values can be same. So similar to hash map we have over here, though we do not have the restriction on values we can put. Okay, so values can be anything, but there is a restriction on the key. The data type of key should always be string. Okay, so the data type of key should always be string. It means that a b and this cd is a string. Yes, these are strings. So we'll say, sir, then if you say keys can be string, then this is also true. This should also work. This is also a string, no? So can I do
Uh,
this?
I don't think it works like that.
Okay. So what can I do to make it work?
You need to just remove the spaces.
Okay, but I want to have this. Anyone
You can
knows? Yeah.
use underscore, or you can just make the caps or
All
a
right.
cap, a
Yeah.
cap, s.
Yes. Yes. We can do that. We can do that. We can skip the space. Although, when I say string, it means it should follow all string, and this is a valid string. Okay, so
Yeah,
this brings to another syntax, which is something like this. And let's check if this is working or not. So obj. Okay, so you can see that yes, this
uh,
is over here. So I can have keys as a string, values can be anything. Are you guys getting the point?
yeah,
Okay, so this is the way to add a property to, this is the way to add a property to object. Okay, so either follow the dot operator, either follow the square brackets notation. Okay, so these are the two ways. Also, this also enables us to do this. Okay, remember the negative indexing. I can do this over here. -4, I can say 90. This will work perfect. You can see we have a negative indexing, but okay, it is a string although. Okay, is it clear, guys? Okay. Now the point is, I can have delete. Okay, so this is adding, and there we have something called as delete also. Okay, so I can say delete obj dot a. So I can remove the property, and it will say true. I can check that obj dot a does not exist anymore. So this is how we add it. So we saw how we can add it to object, and we saw how we can delete from the object. So these are the two things we have added. Okay. Object being a key value pairs where keys are unique and keys are a string. Values can be anything we have, and basically, so this is these are the things we have. Also, we also like came to know about this square bracket notation. Okay. Okay, let's pick a couple of things, and I guess we are good to go for today. So, first thing is JavaScript is an object-oriented programming language. Okay, so I made the statement. We'll discuss how it is. So, object is a key value pair. Now we know how to add the property. We know about the square bracket notation. We know about okay. So heap storage. What is a heap storage?
It's like a temporary storage where all the variables are stored, and once it is run, I mean, it's used, everything will be cleared, I guess.
Okay, all right, makes sense. Yeah. So that part is correct. Although it differs. Okay, so there is a logical separation. Okay, so any program running. Okay, so when you create a file. Okay, when you create a file, this file is stored on hard
Local memory, hard drive, yeah, local.
yeah hard disk, right?
Yeah,
But when it is running, where it is loaded?
when it's running, it would be in
ram ram yeah,
cache.
it is loaded into the ram, right?
Yeah, yeah, RAM.
Okay, so it is the faster memory. Okay, and when the single word is the single function is processed, the particular thing that is inside the processors, and caching is there, but that is not where we want to head toward. When the program is loaded into the ram na, there is a logical separation. There is no physical separation. Okay, there is no partition made. There is a logical separation in the ram. Okay, so there is an area allocated for a heap storage. Okay, so let's say 32 kilobytes, or let's say 40 kilobytes is allocated for heap storage, and there are two more of them. So one is global, and one is the function stack. These are the three things. Okay, okay, let me show you the logical separation. So heap memory. Okay, so heap memory. So you just need a diagram. You just need a photo. It will do the job. Okay. Okay, this will do. So you can see that this is the stack. Okay, so in the okay ram. Okay, your program will be loaded into, let's say, 3 MB, 4 MB ram. Okay, and this is how the logical separation is done. Instruction or the code is written here. Literal all the global functions or global constant are stored over here. This is the static data. Remember public static void main.
Yeah,
Okay, so these they come into the static part, and stack is used for functions, right? When the functions run.
yeah, stack is used for functions.
And this dynamic heap okay, so these are very very small data types. Okay, literals are not much, so that is why we should avoid constant global variables. Dynamic data or heap is a larger storage. Okay, whenever we use this new keyword, whenever we say new, it allocates a memory in the heap. Okay, because heap is the larger chunk of memory, and all rest. Stack is not used. Stack is used for functions. Static data for static data members and property. Literals used for the global variables, and instruction is the program or the code itself. Okay, so this is how it is. So this is this part where our objects reside, and the address of the objects reside either with the stack. Okay, so it reside with the stack itself. Okay. So when we say execution context, now this is what we mean. So this is a stack, and it has execution context, something somewhat here, and it points just to the data. Our code is an instruction. Globals are in literals, static here, and the objects and arrays over here. Okay, because they take high storage. Arrays we have 10 to the power 6 array. We cannot store 10 power 6 into a stack. We have it in dynamic data. So these are some management, and this is why we are not allowed to have more than 10 to the power 6 array. Okay, because if we have more array, it will occupy the RAM, and this pretty much explain why our computer or mobile hangs when the RAM is full. So that is why we have a limitation. Is it clear, guys, what we are discussing?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so this is so RAM is like something where all things. So whenever you say new keyword, so heap storage is used. So similarly, the JavaScript object is stored over there. Also, there's one more statement, last statement I want to make, that we cannot. Okay, in Java, is string mutable or immutable?
Mutable, I guess.
Okay, are you sure? Is it mutable? Others, what do you say? Harshit, is string in Java mutable?
I guess it is immutable.
Yes, it is immutable. We cannot change a already created string. And when we switch to JavaScript now, every primitive data type is immutable. We cannot change any data type. Neither we can change number, neither we can change a boolean. Okay, so we'll say how is the variable reassigned. We'll discuss that tomorrow. Okay, so
Yeah,
that is,
I mean, like if a variable assigned is not changeable, then we're changing it every time, right?
yeah, yeah. So every time I change the or reassign variable, it is storing new. It is taking a new memory. It is not using the older one. Older one is destroyed because that was immutable.
Oh, okay, okay, makes sense.
And I'm telling primitive. It means that arrays and objects can be mutable because these are non-primitive, right? So yeah, that is the point. All right, guys. I hope we have pretty much good discussions today. So where's the attendance sheet? So today is 26, 27. So, please mark the attendance. So I'll copy the link. Okay, some more people were there who left after 9 p.m. So I guess Dinesh was there, Sahil was there, uh, and one more guy was there. I don't remember. Uh, okay. Anyways, please guys mark the attendance and let's meet tomorrow at the same time. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye all.